Hi, it's Brett Joseph here, and I'm with Chris Johnson. Um, Chris Johnson and I really excited to interview you with regard to the 2018 book that you just published on Kindle, and is it in hard copy too?
Yes,
Okay.
it is hard copy right here.
And here it is. This is
Yeah,
folded
Fourth
up,
Trenches.
titled Fourth in Trenches, based on a true story.
East Cleveland, Ohio.
And the story being your story.
Right, it's based on the true story that I wrote about my little brother's journey to the NFL and everything he went through and we went through as a family growing up in East Cleveland, and all the adversity, everything we went through, and how we still trying to overcome everything. We just fighting through. So it's a good story, and it can inspire somebody that come from where we come from or places like where we come from to keep going, you know, not give up.
And just reading through it, I mean, the narrative is grabs you right away because you have the dialogue between the family members and the character development centered on the character of Tony. Tony, basically an autobiographical character.
Right.
So Tony is, in essence, coming from your experience,
Right.
the youngest of a family of 5 sons and a sister. Eight total, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I guess I want to ask you a little more, what prompted you, like what was the inspiration to write a book? You write, reading the pages of this book and realizing that this is based on reality of your experiences in East Cleveland. It just has a level of complexity to it, and in particular the juxtaposition of all the struggles of growing up in the ghetto, which is the poverty, the drugs, the violence, the domestic abuse, and so forth. At the same time, you have the positives. You have the friendship. You have acts of courage. You have and heroism. You have mentoring. You have persistence against adversity, and you have these dreams of greatness in the NFL. In this case, the championship and then beyond, that never seem to die, even with all these things trying to hold the character Tony back. You speak to that in terms of that inspiration of those two things, the dreams against the realities of life, and how at what point you saw that story as being something you wanted to share with the broader audience.
The moment I knew that I needed to share this story with somebody is I knew it could help somebody. I know there's so many people that give up and fall victim to streets or fall victim to just give up, because where we come from, there's not a lot of people that's willing to help us, you know what I'm saying? So I know I can inspire somebody to keep going towards their dream by reading this book. The stuff that Tony went through in this book is normal for where we come from. People everywhere else might think like this is all made up, like that's unbelievable, that didn't happen, but stuff like this happen every day where we come from. Nobody just know about it because they not in the trenches, So that's why I put it in a book, and hopefully I can get this story out to show people that it's people living like this, that with a little help can get up out of this, and a little hope can keep pushing and get out the situation.
I found myself responding that way, reading through it, as the storyline is so, it has so many ups and downs and so many extreme challenges that I had to kind of keep flip back and look, and it's like based on a true story. It's almost unbelievable that, you know, and when I hear you saying that this is normal, you know, this is the experience of life that a lot of people don't realize if you're not from.
Yeah, right. It's not supposed to be normal though. It's
right.
Unfortunately, it is. Where we come from, that's what we got to deal with. You know, and I just want to be the person to try to teach people from where we come from to keep pushing. Don't give up. You know, keep fighting.
Keep fighting, and you know, and just to kind of give us a sense of, you know, that persistence. I had a quote from chapter 12. This is Uncle Reggie. This was your mom's older brother.
Yeah.
Or the character Tony's. You know, I kind of toggle between giving this autobiographical. Uncle Reggie is talking to Tony about tunnel vision. And with permission, I'd like to read a quote.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Uncle Reggie is saying to Tony, negativity is going to finesse its way into your tunnel all the time, but you can't let it. But even if somehow the negativity makes its way in, sometimes you have to embrace it because you can learn from those moments. When things don't go as planned, it's always a detour. Remember that the only way you'll lose is if you stop. Is that one of the messages you're trying to get across?
Yes, that is a very important message. I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's probably the most powerful message in that book right there. And I want the reader to let that sink in. And as long as you let that sink in, I feel like you'll be good. Because anybody that can take negativity and embrace it, you can pretty much deal with anything,
you know. And you have just a couple other things on the book I wanted to ask you about. The mother is a really central figure as well.
What you mean by that central figure? I ain't gonna sit up here and act like I know what it means. So,
like a main character.
Okay.
In that her experience, you know, on the one hand, you have, in many cases, her, you know, she's reaching out to extended family. She tragically lost her sister. And so she had a friend that she kind of adopted as a sister. And then her ex-husband, who threatened the family, threatened the life of the family, and threatened always kind of physically threatened them, and also emotionally threatened them, you know, with the taunts and so forth. And so that placed her in a position where she was having to be very protective and doing whatever she could to try to save them, even as her sons from very young were stepping into that role of trying to protect their mom. Is
that what
part of that normal experience?
It is, because we grew into that. That's how we was raised, to protect each other. And my mother was strong before she had any of us, because she grew up in it. You know, she had an addiction. You know how hard it is to get over an addiction? That's hard. That's probably one of the hardest things in the world. And she got over it and raised 8 kids on her own, you know? So that's...
Yeah, there seemed to be a moment where she was kind of at the bottom of her addiction, and this was when Tony was 1 year old, still in diapers. And she was in her bedroom collapsing, and she was asking why didn't, and this is praying to God, she said, why didn't you just take me instead, God? This was her grief over the loss of her sister. Why? She cried and cried. Tears ran down her face as she thought of her little sister. Still sobbing, Mama looked up and saw her youngest 1 year old baby boy, Tony, standing in the bedroom doorway. And then goes on, you know, describes Tony standing there. It says that at that moment, it made her do a 180-degree turn from her life. And from there on, she stayed clean to raise her boys. And I hear you saying how difficult it is, and yet that one moment she turned her around 180 degrees.
Yeah.
Is that an experience that that your mom had?
Actually, she told me that.
She told you
She
that?
told me that story. I mean, obviously, if Tony was 1, I was 2, 3, you know. So
Mhm.
she told me that story, and that's what happened, and that's what made her change and straighten up and continue on the straight path that she on and stay strong.
And then, yeah, I don't want to give away more of the book there. I just want to encourage anyone viewing this to definitely, find it. You can find it on Amazon, or you can go. You have a website, right?
FourthAndTrenches.com.
And that's Fourth and Trenches, all one word spelled out.
Yeah, just like this.
.com. I wanted to also ask you about your experience as a returning citizen. You were incarcerated at the Trumbull County Correctional Center.
Correct.
You and your brother, just as depicted in the book, is a football player. He was a football player. Okay. He got in trouble, and
He got accused.
he got accused.
He didn't get in no trouble. He just got accused.
Okay. So I want to ask you, in your own words, to describe the circumstances, to the extent that you're willing and able to explain the circumstances of your incarceration, and then I want to ask you about your journey to returning citizenship.
The circumstance to my incarceration.
Yeah.
Like, why was I incarcerated? That's what you asked?
As it relates to your brothers
Okay.
being accused.
Well, he was accused of something he ain't doing. And they basically tied all of us, it's 3 of us. They tied me, Tony, my youngest brother, who I wrote the book about,
Okay.
and one of my oldest brothers. They tied all of us into one case. And they came to us and said, me and my older brother, and said, if y'all 2 take this plea, we'll let y'all little brother, who was already innocent from everything, we'll let him go scot-free. But if y'all don't, we gonna continue to hold him up from letting him pursue his career. So, of course, without thinking, we said, let him go, we'll take him. So we took the plea deal. The plea was a felony 3 obstruction for me, and dropped my oldest brother's murder down to a manslaughter. So we both took the plea, went to sentencing, and we both got the maximum sentence, me and my older brother. And they let my little brother go, Tony. And he went on back to Cincinnati to sign his contract, but they told him it was too late because they kept rescheduling our court dates for over 7 months. So that pretty much shattered his whole career. And me and my brother got the bad end of the stick. We got the most time we can get. And when I was in prison, I wrote this book in there. This whole book, I wrote it in there. And Circle Mountain is what helped me maintain my composure instead of spazzing out, anything. That meditation thing helped me stay grounded and helped me get through and helped me keep my sanity through my time the way I was supposed to do it.
And Circle Mountain is a program that was founded by 2 inmates.
Yeah.
From the experience of being incarcerated,
Right.
and really an innovative program using meditation and truth telling and other forms of using your voice
Yeah.
in process that allows you to tell your stories to each other and to the world.
Right.
So can you say a little more about how Circle Mountain, you mentioned the meditation, was that the part of it, main part of it that really helped you?
Circle
keep-
Mountain, yeah. The main part that helped me
Keep
was
level?
the meditation that helped me keep my sanity for real. They try to put me on medication in there, and they try to make me do all these programs, and you know, nothing worked for me. You know, and talking definitely didn't hurt for me, but meditation worked, man. It helped me be one with myself, and it helped me write this book.
And I'm imagining that, and I use the word circumstances as kind of a general way, because I understand, you know, that this is based on an accusation and a plea that is, you know, you got reality of whatever happened that was behind the, you know, the accusations. But in your case, you know, you were out of love of a brother, and out of being confronted with a very, some would say, a devil's choice, you know, a very difficult choice of letting your brother go free, your brother, you know, with his dreams of the NFL, you didn't know at the time, or even if you did know, you know, that they would not receive it back. And then
I would have took the plea whether
you would have taken it anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd do it all over again. If they gave me that plea and they told me I'd get maxed out, I'd do it all over again. That's my brother. I love him, and he ain't deserve to be in that position that he was in.
Yeah, you know, and that love, the willingness to do that for your brother, it just reminds me of all manner of sacrifice, whether it's soldiers in arms that, you know, you always hear talking about their literal brothers or the brothers in arms, and yet to do time when you know you were falsely accused, and yet you're doing time in order to save your brother from having to endure that. It's just, you know, it makes you wonder about plea bargains and whether these are unintended consequences, or whether, you know, in our criminal justice system, which is supposed to be about the truth, it's supposed to be about justice. This is not justice by any definition.
No, not at all.
Let me, just a few more questions we can wrap up. I just want to ask you, do you feel bitter from that experience towards the criminal justice system?
Remember when we were just talking about embracing the negativity?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much where I'm at with it. You know, of course I feel I'm not happy with the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I still got a brother that's in there doing 22 years. He shouldn't be. You know, and I still got a little brother that career is just ruined because of the system. But like I said, it is what it is. Some stuff you just gotta take on the chin and try to see the light in it. You know, it's a negative situation and try to make the best out of it. If I can change something in the system, I'm on board. Whatever I need to do, I'm with it. Because it's gonna be more people that get in a situation like that, and then their life is just over because of the system, you know.
And actually, that was going to be my next question, is for readers of your book, get a little window into the ordeal experience that you went through. For anyone that would seek to take a lesson away from that about how we can improve the system, and how we can prevent the kind of injustice that happened to you from happening to other people. So, how do you imagine, like, what's your best case scenario in terms of, like, suburban readers, people, you know, that are coming from different experiences altogether, and might even find your book a wake-up call, like they didn't realize that this could even happen, like in their naivete. What do you hope that they could take away?
You know, I want to speak on. I'm gonna speak on that in just a second. But I gave this. I sent this book out to somebody in Arizona,
Okay.
and he was the older white dude, and he wasn't familiar with nothing that we went through, nothing that we go through,
Right.
stuff like this, and he left a long letter on my brother's, in front of my brother's condo, and I really want to send it to you because I don't want to tell you what it said in the letter, and I don't want to miss nothing out. But it was probably one of the deepest reviews that we ever got, for real. And I don't want to say I didn't think it could touch somebody like that because I knew it would, but I didn't know how. But it impressed me for real, like I didn't think people would feel like they feel, you know. But what do I think people will get out of this? It's so much you can get out of this. You don't have to live this lifestyle to get stuff out of this. You know, you can. Somebody can read this book, a wealthy dude somewhere else that never went through none of this can read this, and then just start looking at people like us different. You know, because we strong.
Yeah.
You know, we is, for real, but we don't get acknowledged for it. We get looked at like, you know, but, I mean, I ain't asking for no sympathy or nothing. It's just, I don't know, man. People that come from where I come from, man, we strong. We strong, for real.
You can tell that, you know, like as you turn the page to this book, right? You know, one chapter you're in a real dire situation, you know, being attacked or running, you know, from violence,
Right.
or you know, all the different hardships, and then you flip the page, you're back on a football field, you're back dreaming, you're back thinking big, thinking what is possible.
Yeah.
That's strength, right?
Yeah, strength. That's exactly what it is. And a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring. So, well, thank you for sharing that, and yeah, I would very much appreciate if you send along that letter.
I will. I'll
and
make sure I
are you-
email it to you.
Maybe get permission from the author to publish that. Who knows, you know, of the letter, because I think that's a question that comes to me. You know, I mean, I'm very touched, struck by the book in terms of the lesson, the wisdom that's in there, as well as the, you know, just the respect that I feel for what, you know, the qualities, the human qualities that allowed your family to get through.
Right.
And I imagine other people would be struck the same way, and maybe shine a light on an experience that many people really don't understand and need to understand.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.